Welcome to the new sound of online radio. Welcome to the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network. 'Cause you make me feel like I've been locked out of heaven. A mix of today's hits and hard-to-find favorites, combined with the most entertaining and intriguing talk anywhere. This is your sound. This is the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network at UBNradio.com.
To ever feel this worthless, how did it come down to this?
Oh, got my namesake up there, Beyonce.
But I'ma fuck me up a bitch.
Ooh. Oh! I didn't.
All right, I'm out of here.
Surprising us today. Hey, everybody, welcome to a super fun edition.
What kind of show is this?
I put in clean, too.
You will find out in a few minutes. Welcome, everybody, to a really fun edition of, oh my God, who am I? I'm changing the name of the show. I am Deborah Kobylt Live. That's what you've tuned into. Thank you for being here. And my guest in studio today, the illustrious John Kobylt of the John and Ken Show, #1 rated radio talk show for centuries, it seems like. You just never go away. And then also my really, really good friend and...
Look up the name. You're looking for notes. You always know there's a problem if somebody says, my really, really good friend, and then they look down at their notes.
What the hell does he do, really? Which station is he on? Okay.
I'm Jeff Michael with Standards and Practices.
You can see how this hour is going to go. I love when my news people are in studio because you just never know what the hell is going to happen.
Give him an introduction.
All right. Well, he interrupted himself. CBS 2 News this morning in Los Angeles. Jeff Michael. Big applause. We have a very large studio audience here. Always in studio. And Kurt, thank you for that song, Beyonce, my namesake. Yeah. They call me Beyonce down on the baseball field. I'm not quite sure why. We'll have to get to that.
You know why.
Huh? Why?
You're a diva.
I am not.
You're constantly demanding things for everyone, yes.
At the baseball field?
Yes, you were.
Please, I'm so helpful.
You keep trying to tell everybody else to go get your coffee.
That is true.
Okay.
But, they have nothing better to do. Okay. So let's get right to it because you have to go do your own show in a few minutes, correct?
Right. So let's get into it.
All right, let's get into it. Jeff, you can chime in anytime you want, although when John leaves, then it's sort of your segment, just the two of us.
Oh, well, why waste the two paragraphs that I only know? I don't wanna...
I'll go as long as I can.
Well, I want you both to know. What is today, everybody? What is today?
Today is Day Without a Woman.
That's
I don't get that. So what, we're all supposed to
started
stay
with,
home?
No. Hold on.
You were supposed to.
Oh, my God. Remember that play, Lysistrata? Was that it?
No, that's an Arcane reference. No. Not Arcane, but it's marginal.
Remember where the women sort of stayed back and they were like, they barricaded themselves and the men didn't get their women. So is that what International Day is supposed to be?
It's either women aren't supposed to show up for work.
Right.
So you could see the office is not going to run well without women. Or
nothing can
if
run
the
well
woman
without.
is a homemaker, she's supposed to leave the house to show that the place falls apart without mom.
Yeah, but
whatever your role is in life, you're supposed to leave it for a day.
But they're even also asking that women don't spend money today, don't go to stores, and if you do, only go to a woman-owned establishment.
I could do that. I haven't spent any money yet. I have to tell you, I've just been. Well, I did. I had my hair done, so forget that. But I had a woman do it, so I did that. And the woman owns the store. Now that I think about it, Dry Bar. So I did that.
So you're spiritually in sync with all this.
I am spiritually in sync with International Women's Day. Do you know what the spirit is of International Women's Day, gentlemen? Oh. And do you know when it was started? May I ask?
No and no.
Do you, Mr. Michael?
Well,
I feel like
International Women's Day as opposed to a day without a woman. No, I don't have the question of the first. Well, look, no, International Women's Day was started, I'm going to guess, back in 1909.
Oh, man, you read it on the teleprompter this morning.
Dude, okay, look, you want me to dumb myself down? The first time I ever heard the word suffragette was when Paul McCartney sang it in the 1970s, and I had no idea what it meant. So, Deborah, I looked it up.
You did. I'm so impressed.
It's you, Mr.
Kobylt, did not.
I lose this round of the game show here.
Well, you got to listen to bad pop music from the 1970s, and then
he's up 1-0 on me.
I'm very impressed. It was. Let me see who started that. It was. Oh my God, I need my glasses. Sorry, everybody. It was a global day celebrating the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. In which case, I have done them all. And it was started in 1909 by the Socialist Party of America. Did you read about that?
Well, remember, this was for the right to vote.
Right.
I mean, 50% of the population wasn't deciding the fate of the United States.
But what's amazing is I never heard of International Women's Day until this year. Did you? I didn't. I didn't even know about it.
No.
Now, why did it become such a big deal this year in particular? Because Mr. Trump, our president, was tweeting about it at 3:12 in the morning Eastern time. Did you hear what he had to say?
No.
You didn't look anything up, John.
Well,
You came completely unprepared.
I
may have to let you go.
I didn't know I was going to be peppered with questions about Women's Day. Now
you need to know this.
After being in the bus with Billy Bush, what do you think he had to say?
Well, let me tell you.
It's going to start with, can I have a do-over?
Oh! We can get to that later, but
right.
I often talk about what happened on the bus, and we all know that sometimes you just don't know you're on mic, right? And we've all said all sorts of things, but that's a different time.
That's a different topic.
We'll talk about that later.
All right.
What Mr. Trump tweeted at 3:12 in the morning Eastern, that man does not go to sleep. I have tremendous respect for women and the many roles, sorry, my handwriting is awful, that are vital to the fabric of our society and our economy. Now, you can imagine celebrities around the globe were furious at that tweet, no matter what this man...
Which is why he did it.
Well, no matter what he says...
I think he enjoys starting these fights.
I know women who work for Mr. Trump, and to be honest with you, they've never really said much about him except that he's been a pretty fair boss. So this is what the man said at 3:12. You know that people are up in arms no matter what he says. Mr. Kobylt, your thoughts?
Well, I think there's professional Trump, and then there's locker room Trump. And a lot of guys are compartmentalized that way.
I know, but people still need to be a little careful what they're doing in the locker room, especially nowadays, in the newsroom, in the locker room, in the elevator. You can't really say much of anything. In your own bathroom, you can barely even say what you're thinking.
You know what? Your iPhone might be turned on by the CIA recording you. So
that's right.
Oh, you want to get to that segment that we were discussing. Yeah. So that's true, too. I almost find it impossible that they can do this. You read about that, Mr. Michael?
What's that? Oh, of course, James Comey.
That is.
I started reading. I read WikiLeaks press release, but I mean, we're talking about 8,700 something documents. I don't think I'm going to get through those by bedtime.
No, that's a tough read.
But yeah,
that's
the smart TV, sure, yeah. And you heard what James Comey said.
I'm not getting a smart TV now, and I'm actually going to go back to a flip phone.
You got a smart husband. What do you need a smart TV for?
Well, he doesn't even know anything about International Women's Day, so the jury's out on that.
Pass on that one.
Yeah, thanks.
No, but I didn't even know about this day until he tweeted about it. Like I said, people are up in arms over him. But there's a lot more.
I have a friend who was talking about this months ago.
About what?
About the idea that your phone really is a recording device. Since it has a microphone and it has recording capabilities, it's very easy through the internet to turn it on. Somebody could hack it with malicious code. It's actually not that complicated.
And you get to hear what we say and do all day long as you're driving in the car.
Yes,
listening to music.
That's what spies do. Rather than planting a wire on you or planting a wire in your office and in your car, they just have to have your phone number or your the IP address of your internet connection, and then they could turn it on all day.
Interesting what they hear from me. I'd be talking to the kids, maybe yelling a little bit.
Well,
why do they want to hear this stuff? I understand.
Well, obviously the CIA is picking their targets, but they printed some of the code in these CIA leaks yesterday.
Right.
And from what I read is smart guys can take that basis and add on their own code, and then you'll be able to turn on anybody's phone just for fun. Just to embarrass them.
I'd love to do that. There are plenty of people I'd love to.
There's a lot of people who don't want to be embarrassed on on the internet.
So how do we get away from that? Actually, do they build in some kind of technology where it's absolutely impossible to do? Is that where we're headed next? Do you go back to your flip phone or the wire phones?
I think the bad guys are always going to win when it comes to the back and forth.
Who's the bad guys?
The bad guys are the people who like to make trouble.
Yeah, who are the bad guys?
Well, I mean, we're talking about CIA-linked documents. I'm just wondering if we're talking about the CIA.
I'm talking about private bad guys.
Oh, private bad guys. Okay.
The CIA
not the ones we pay to be bad.
That's right. If they're spying on the Russians, that's a good thing. But no, it's all the guys who just try to send you viruses to seize up your computer.
Yeah.
Those guys are going to have a great time just randomly turning on private citizens' phones, recording them all day, and then putting it online or maybe using it for blackmail purposes.
But this has been going on for a while, not just the past few months that Trump has been president.
Oh, no, this is...
Why all this news now? Why is it coming to the forefront? We're hearing about this. We're hearing about why?
Well, it's two separate categories, I think. I think there's probably a civil libertarian inside the CIA who's decided this has gone too far. that they're, and then some like Edward Snowden with the NSA.
Right.
Sure.
They've decided that the government is abusing its powers here.
Right.
The other half of all the leaks involving Trump is I think there are people as part of the permanent government, the permanent infrastructure.
They want him out.
And this is a form of an attempted coup, really, where they're going to try to dig up dirt or create dirt and just keep slamming him and slamming him and slamming him, hoping something sticks and something takes him out.
Right, and this is what Trump has been talking about, that he was bugged, that the Obama administration had him bugged in Trump Tower. I mean, it's just correct.
Well,
it's all related.
Like most of what he says, he's a little bit right, and then he's somewhat wrong. It's probably unlikely that Obama ordered Trump to be wiretapped.
Agreed.
But I think it seems that there were members of Trump's team getting wiretapped. And there may have been taps in Trump Tower.
Let me just another possibility. First of all,
please.
the old expression: if somebody's digging themselves in a hole, you don't need to hand them another shovel.
Right.
All right. So Trump already, through his tweets, has enough. He's giving people ammunition to get back at him because he doesn't offer proof for any of the things he says.
He doesn't because he's not very well read. I mean, he's sort of a headline guy.
I'm not going to attack our president's intelligence. I'm merely saying what I do know is that he hasn't offered proof.
Right.
And then the second, what was the second part of your? This is why I woke up too early. The second point you made was
about how they were going after his staff members who may have had some connections to Russia, so that there may have been phones in Trump Tower that were tapped, but it wasn't specifically Obama tapping Trump. It's somebody that does.
That's the thing. But what we're missing here is, remember, the reason that Comey was so incensed by this tweet was because it not implicitly, it explicitly says that the FBI was breaking the law, was committing a felony by doing a tap on an American citizen, that includes all of his staff, without a court order, which is very difficult to get. That's the FISA court. Right. Very difficult to get. So I just have a hard time believing that there's somebody going that rogue.
Well, they may have had a court order. There's some reports that said there may have been a FISA court order, but it's all supposed to be classified, and nobody's supposed to talk about it. We're supposed to not know if there was a request, an approval, or somebody went rogue. All this is supposed to be secret.
It's International Women's Day. Can I please have my say?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's your
show.
But
how do you prove this? That's what I mean. To what extent? I mean, they're going to be arguing this, so how does one prove it?
We've actually entered like a house of mirrors here.
Yeah.
Where it's very difficult to know what's true and what's not, and who's faking it, and
where does this lead us ultimately by all this finger pointing? What happens?
Well, there are forces that want him out. Yeah. I really do think that the permanent infrastructure, he's like a virus that's infected Washington, and so the immune system is now trying to destroy him. Right. And they were happy with Bush's and Clinton's in office. They were okay with Obama.
Well, they knew what they were getting.
Right. But Trump seems to be such an alien force that wants to undo just the normal day-to-day business of Washington, that they look at him just as a complete independent enemy to everybody's existence there. And so that's why you have all kinds of different groups banding together informally to go after him.
So ultimately, Mr. Michael, what do you what could be the end game here? I mean, they're trying obviously to get him out, but what are they looking for? I mean, just lots of dirt so they can have him impeached.
I think people may not realize that John's also saying people within the Republican Party.
I know that.
Oh,
absolutely.
I mean, the Republican Party is every bit as upset with him. I mean, the Democrats that's a given.
Yeah.
But he is not. I think look at all the Republican stalwarts in the country. They would even say this guy really isn't a Republican.
No, they'd be happy if they took him out and Pence took over. Pence is the traditional Republican that they trust with a long history there.
And again, they know what they're getting with this guy. So
well, remember the stock market. The one thing the stock market, and I'm using as a metaphor, the stock market does not like uncertainty. The one thing you have that if you want to see the market crash, uncertainty will do it. Trump is the political equivalent of uncertainty. Nobody knows what to expect.
Yeah.
I mean, his staff doesn't know what to expect, once 3 a.m.
I don't think he knows what to expect. I think he's reactionary, and that's a real issue, right? So,
well, they think he wants to completely remake the way government operates, and that he's capable of walking into any agency, any department, and firing everybody at once. And they're all trying to protect themselves. And they also have a lot of very deep-seated beliefs, ideological beliefs, on how the way the world is supposed to run. And he's threatening all that. He's not in a conventional mode. You can deal with, if you're a Republican, you can deal with a Democrat because you know where they're coming from, and vice versa. You have no idea where he's coming from, or if the way he thinks on Monday is the way he's going to think on Friday. And so they just that's why it finally got to the ridiculous point where they were talking about Russian prostitutes peeing on his bed. They just decided to drop the kitchen sink on him, and he seems to be Teflon at this point. No matter even though he says and tweets and everything else the nuttiest things in the world, what he does is he keeps bulldozing forward. And he makes new news every few hours. So the old news quickly becomes really old news by 2 p.m.
I know you have to leave in a minute.
That's
but
great.
Do you think this
right.
has even trumped him?
What's that?
Do you think this has even trumped him? I'm sure he didn't expect this. I think he expected to come in and make some changes and have people listen to him just the way that he's done business all his life. And now he has a roadblock wherever he turns.
The one thing that his existence has done, it's unmasked a lot of agendas. Now we see clearly there's media agendas, and clearly there is what they're calling now the new phrase, the deep state, the permanent infrastructure of government, and that they have their own agendas and their own rituals and methodologies. And he's now exposed that these are the guys who are trying to pull off a coup. We're used to the word coup in a military sense. But here in this country, if there's a coup, it's not in a military sense; it's in a bureaucratic sense.
So, are you saying there's a government equivalent of the literati? Is that where we're going here?
Yes, I think so. I think stuff that I would have thought was wacko fringe a month ago, I'm starting to think, no, I guess this really is the way the world works. We just didn't know it. And he disrupts people's psyche so much that they all end up exposing themselves.
Well, he wants to get to the underbelly and the layers, so many layers of how government's been how it's been functioning over these centuries, literally. And it's one guy up against an enormous, it's an enormous task for one person to undertake. And I think he didn't realize just how tough it would be. I think he felt that he would get more people on his side, right? And he hasn't. Do you have to go?
Yes.
No, because I know your show's at 2
No,
o'clock.
I got 2 more minutes if you have one more topic you want to get into.
Yeah, I want to hear this.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
NYU. I thank you, Mary. I have a friend in here who's been peppering me with ideas. NYU. Do you know about this one? NYU conducted a study.
Well, it's an experiment.
It's an experiment.
This is fascinating.
Love this.
I've just watched a couple of minutes of it. A few nights ago, they had a woman and a man play Trump and Hillary.
During the debates. Which debate?
They recreated one of the debates. And they wanted to see if a woman played Trump's role.
I love this.
And a man played Hillary's role, how would people react? Mm-hmm. The audience at NYU was all left-wing academics and students, all right?
What was the first question I asked, though? What did they look like? Because a lot of it is likability just by looking at the guy or the girl.
They looked ordinarily
Yeah, they were kind of ordinary. Ordinarily attractive is right.
Yeah, right.
Younger.
Okay. So it wasn't biased in any way. Neither one of them looked like monsters.
Right. And one wasn't the bombshell while the other one was, 2 feet and ugly.
And so what they thought from the NYU bias, okay? Now, again, this is an
academic institution.
Academia bias here. They thought that Hillary's arguments would sound better coming out of a man. Right? Because people are biased against women. And that Trump's arguments would come across even worse coming out of a woman. You see? And the thing is, virtually everybody in the auditorium found out it was the opposite. Trump sounded more reasonable as a woman.
Okay, there's your headline today. Trump is more reasonable as a woman.
Hillary sounded more harsh. The stereotypes that they had, and again, this is a left-wing crowd, the stereotypes they had, reality turned out to be the opposite, which means people were not rejecting Hillary because she was a woman.
No.
They were rejecting Hillary because they didn't like her personality. They were not embracing Trump because he was a man. They were embracing Trump because they liked his message. They said Trump's message coming out of a woman was even more attractive. One of them said it's like my aunt lecturing me, knowing maybe I don't like her too much, but I know she wants to do the right thing for me. And that's the way it came across. It came across as wisdom. rather than, and that crowd.
Interesting.
That crowd would be biased against
that?
white male patriarchy. I mean, Trump is the epitome of a white male, privileged, powerful man, right?
Right.
So that's why this crowd would hate him.
Well,
You're describing the fathers of every NYU student.
Right, exactly. Sure.
It's true.
Which is the whole purpose of going to college, right?
Right, exactly.
Is to get angry with your, reject your dad.
God, we know that.
Yeah.
Okay,
So it was fascinating. It's like to a person there, they all had the same reaction, which, very rarely in life do people confront their own biases and realize their biases were getting in the way of their perception of both candidates. And maybe that gets them, at least that crowd, to start to understand why half the country went for Trump. And that it wasn't a sexism thing. It was a message thing.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. That's you got to hand it to him. That's
it's
a great
terrific
idea.
study. I'm surprised somebody didn't do it sooner. I really like hearing about that. Now I know you have to
now
go.
I
You're
have to
driving
go,
order
yeah.
way. I'm looking
What are you
out for
talking
your,
about? What are you guys-
for your
what are you
best
talking about
interest. What
today?
are you talking about, Mr.
I don't know. I'm busy here. I have no idea what's going on.
Well, okay. You can, let me help you a little bit. You could talk about the NYU study, right? That's a good one for you to start with, right?
Thank
you like
you.
that one?
Yes, I
If you
do.
want to call me for
That's
any
great.
opinion, I'm happy to be on your show.
Sure,
so
I know
can
you
call me
are.
for
You're always
whatever.
available.
But I am Lucy, right? John likes to call me Lucy. So you should get on your way. Thank you for being here. I appreciate your filling in. One of my guests couldn't make it, and John, busy John, took some time out of his day to be here. And people can find you on
KFI AM 640.
and on the web, of course,
iHeartRadio Media app.
and the John and Ken Show anytime.
You're iHeart?
iHeart, yes.
I'm iHeart. Hey, I'm
You're the guys who gave away the wrong award last night or the night before last.
What, Sunday?
What wrong?
You look
award?
up the iHeart. Yeah.
Wait a minute. I was there. I did
Zane,
not
what
hear
is
it.
it? What's the guy's name? Zane.
They had another moment?
Hang on.
Zane
I
somebody.
was right there. Nobody gave out the wrong award.
Well, look it up, see if I'm wrong, and you can talk about it.
All right.
Yeah. Or maybe you can't because you're on iHeartRadio.
Probably I can't. Or
I
shouldn't.
don't remember that. You need to. We need
I
to
know
look that up.
we reported that today.
All right,
wow.
I'm going to go.
All right.
All right.
see you
Drive
guys
safely.
later.
Take the
You're the best,
headphones
man.
off.
All right.
Thank you so much. See how we do things around here. People just. Thank you, John Kobylt.
Peace.
Do you see how we do things around here? No teleprompter here.
learning.
Absolutely no one. You
Yeah,
just
I would
sort of
I would
fly by the seat of your pants in this place.
I
You know
would
what
love
I mean?
it if there wasn't a teleprompter. I don't use it half the time anyway.
I know it's much easier. Isn't
Probably
it?
pretty obvious. That's
No, you're terrific, Mr. Michael. Thank you for being here. But stop it.
She did it again.
I am terrible
You
with
checked
names.
your notes for my last name.
I know your last name. I've known you for so many years, but I do it all the time. I had Mr. Kobylt in here just leaving, and I had to make sure I had which news guy I had sitting next to
All
me.
right, all
What
right.
are you looking up there on the TV? Latest
I was looking up the
trend?
NYU. No, I was looking up the NYU.
I like that you
study.
do that, and you do that as your anchoring. I really like that. It's very proactive. You're just right in there, and you're looking up the latest news.
Well, but you have to make sure where you're looking it up. You want a legitimate news source, which kind of gets us to fake news. But you don't just look
What's
at
your
tweets.
source? What do you like to look at?
Oh, well, in a case like this, you'd look at the New York Times. I mean, or you'd look at record of the day newspapers or publications.
And that's what you like to look through the. So, okay, Jeff, Mike, I want to go through your career a
Sure,
little bit.
sure,
You're
sure.
the morning news anchor for Channel 2 here in Los Angeles. Before that, you were the evening news anchor, evening and also at 5 p.m.
5 and 10.
Okay. For Channel 11, KTTV in Los Angeles. Everyone knows you from there. You have such a terrific job there. But you worked in 4 major markets, correct? Where are you from? Just a little bit of history on you.
Before KTTV, I was at KABC, Channel 7 for 8 years. And yeah,
You don't look that old.
I've worked.
I mean,
I've
honestly,
I've
no
worked all
offense.
around.
Where did you come from? Like, where did you start? Because this business, people start all over the place, right?
I began my career in Reno.
Oh.
I worked for a TV station at the time that was owned by the grandson of Charlie Cord. No, the grandson of Cord, who invented the Cord automobile. And that was my first lesson on prior constraint. Do you know what prior constraint is?
No.
Prior constraint is telling a journalist what they can't do prior to them covering
That
an
would
event.
be me, right? And so you went out there and did your own thing, right?
Back in the
I just love the spirit of a journalist.
Back in the
I gotta tell you.
1980s, the Reno was hosting the gay rodeo, and that was early groundbreaking stuff.
I never heard of the gay rodeo back in the 80s.
Yeah,
Wow.
our owner would not let us acknowledge that it was in town.
Ew.
I know.
Ew. So what did you do? You went out and covered it anyway and threw it on the news.
Put on my chaps and had a good old time. Anyway, so from there I went to Richmond, Virginia. I was there for a while. After there, Miami. I was a crime reporter in Miami during some of the worst crime they had, and then here got here just in time.
Where did you
for
work in
Rodney
Miami?
King and O.J. Simpson.
That's when we got
all the
here
others.
for Rodney King
right.
and O.J. Simpson. All of a sudden, one day you're just at O.J.'s house as he's going.
I was out in front of O.J.'s house.
We
I followed the Broncos.
We were all out in front of O.J.'s house
Yeah.
that day. You know, coffee was being served. Everyone was wondering. It was really a sad event, but it was so chaotic. It was such a moment that all of us remember, right? And we moved here. I moved here during the federal Rodney King trial, not the local one. So I was here during the federal one. And I started at Channel 9, and then I went over to 11, and then over to CNN, and pretty much for the rest of it, did some entertainment, had kids, and took some time off. So, but it's such would you do anything?
I really enjoy having you as my guest here on this.
I'm like, wait a minute, what just happened?
I'm just kidding.
You could take over if you want.
I don't know. I'm just.
He's way more experienced than I am.
I didn't know your CV either. I really like that.
Really?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's what I did. So, but I find you interesting because as journalists, there's so much that we've covered. Do you have one or two or three stories in particular that come to mind that were your favorite or perhaps had a real effect on you?
I would say you have the greatest stories have a great effect on us all the time. We're not divorced from our emotions. We do keep them in abatement. But I think the one time I really learned something. I learned a couple of things. I went up to where in Northern Virginia to a coal miner's daughter's shack, and she had lost. Her baby had died. Her baby had died. Someone had stolen the baby out of her truck, and they just assumed it was dead. They thought it was missing. They weren't sure. Anyway, she just convinced me of how desperate she was. And I got back to the TV station and I said, we've got to make this our lead story. We have to help this woman. And I got a phone call an hour before going on the air saying, you probably want to, from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Kids, you may want to hold your story. Why? Police have arrested the mom. She put the baby in a garbage bag and threw it in the
And you
lake.
believed her.
And I believed her that her baby was stolen out of a truck. So as a journalist, you want to believe people who truly either are victims or have a cause, but I always keep about 10% over here, just in case.
I had a similar story. The little boy's name was Timothy Wiltsey back in New Jersey, and the mother wouldn't speak to any media. And I found her. I hunted her down, and I found her, and she was going to a school board meeting, even though her child was missing. I found that a little odd. And I just sat her down. And as she talked to me and said, I'm so upset, my son, I don't know what to do. We have people looking. And I thought, you did it. You did it. Yeah. And even to this day, the hair is standing up on my arms because my instinct told me she did it. She was never found guilty. They never brought her to court. They never found him. And I just had a feeling that this woman did it. So those are the kind of stories that really stay with you. It's very difficult because you try not to get involved. For months, I couldn't sleep because I just felt that this woman had done something to her son. It's very difficult. Another one for me that's really tough, and I know we've both done this, to knock on somebody's door who just lost their loved one. I will do almost anything. They're not home. I can't find them. I don't know what happened to them. And I've done that because I just I don't understand why the producers insist on talking to a grieving person.
Oh, yeah, you do.
I do,
you know why?
But of course
because they don't knock on the door.
Yeah, I know.
No, I mean, it's very true. They're
true.
not. You send them out there and tell them, I want you to go knock on the door and ask someone who just lost their.
Do you?
I have.
Of course, we both have. But there have been times I think, they're not home. I really have done that because I just couldn't do it, and I would just call back to my producer and just say I couldn't find them. I just couldn't I couldn't bring myself to doing it. But that's a tough one, don't you think? To actually intrude on someone's grief.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think, though, that's the way we as journalists carry – that goes to how we practice what we do versus the topic of the story we cover. I mean, there's stories you remember because of their importance, and then there's stories you remember because, you had to do some things that you just didn't want to do.
What do you love about this job? I mean, because you got into it at a young age, right? Did you always want to be a journalist?
No, I think I always wanted to tell stories. I don't know that I had journalism in mind.
See, me too. Journalists are storytellers. I'm the same way. I love to hear people's stories as a little kid. I wanted to know everything about them.
Well, that's part of our DNA. That's who we are as human beings. That's the only way that our history was passed down before we knew how to write. And then the only way it was passed down before Gutenberg invented the printing press.
It's true. Well,
no. There was a Gutenberg Bible. Is that right? I think that's right.
There was a Gutenberg
No,
Bible?
it's a
No, printing press.
No, it's anyway, I'll go back and say that. I've been up for a long time.
We can edit this out. He's been out since
since
2:30 in the morning,
Let the mistakes stand.
Oh, mistakes stand here
Sure.
all the time, I can assure you. With me, here, they stand all the time. So, so you always wanted to be a storyteller. So then were you a print journalist initially, or you just always started
television.
your career? Really?
I can't spell at all. I mean, I
was a newspaper person, and somebody said to me, "You need to go on television." I'm like, "Why?" So then I ended up in TV. But
because you were beautiful, and everybody wanted to look at you, and listen to your voice.
I love this. Thank you. You could just keep going for the rest of the show.
Yeah.
Okay. So you started as a TV journalist, and anything that you've loved. Did you have anything that was just your absolute favorite that you've enjoyed covering?
Wow, it's funny. I don't. There are stories I remember, but they don't tend to be stories that are entirely positive.
Guys, this is so hard. For 20 plus years, you've been a journalist, and to just put you on the spot and ask you something.
Yeah, I was at the Murrah Federal Building when the Oklahoma City bombing took place. I was in New Orleans after the hurricane hit, when bodies were being found on the street because of the flooding, and after the lower third, or what was it called? I forgot the neighborhood. Anyway, after the flood wall broke. Space Shuttle Columbia disaster blowing up over Texas. I was there for a week to cover that.
Did you go after the fact, or were you there watching the launch?
Well, the launch was in Florida.
Right, of course.
The space shuttle was coming back from its mission on reentry when it blew up.
Okay, so oh, wow, that's incredible. So you've really covered some amazing stuff. I mean, just Oklahoma City, that's a tough one.
Yeah, that was very tough. Sure. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of things where you pause and you say to yourself, wow, I'm actually here staring at this. And this even pales in connection to 9/11. I was not in New York City on 9/11, so...
Were you sent to cover any of that? Or?
No, I stayed here in L.A. because 9/11 threw us into a national, security disaster. So, I think if you're good at what you do, and you hang around long enough, you're going to find yourself covering major news events.
We went and covered the inauguration, and one thing that always impresses me is how we all bond as journalists, right? I mean, we have so much in common. I don't care where you're from and what your position is or where you're really working. You could work at a conservative outlet or a liberal one, but we just have that storytelling aspect about us in common. Don't you think? It's just a very distinguished group of people. I actually find it, I'm privileged to be a journalist. I feel like that I could tell my version of a story every day to someone. I find it a privilege. You're smiling. Why?
Well, I'm smiling because the President of the United States thinks that you're full of crap.
Absolutely. Full of shit.
Yeah, full of shit. I mean, that's
what do you think of him throwing people out of the press room? I mean, come on.
It is the most unconstitutional behavior any American president has probably ever performed.
I am shocked. I mean, whether he agrees or doesn't agree with the news outlet, he takes them out of there, and that doesn't have their names. I mean, to actually do that to CNN, I find that quite interesting that he's pulled that off, and that people have not been more up in arms about it.
Oh, I think they are. Look, you have major publications and mainstream television and radio networks finally saying, because it's true, the president lied about. Mm-hmm. The president lied about. And there have been many subjects that have filled that sentence and completed it. The last time we said that about a U.S. president was Richard Nixon. It was a question about whether or not he had lied to cover up Watergate. So, I mean, this just doesn't happen. You know.
Well, every president takes heat for so much, right? But this one takes it personally. He takes it so personally to the point that he's tweeting about it. That's just absurd, don't you think?
Well, I don't know if I want to. Unlike you, I serve a master in CBS, so I don't want to say anything that overly goes toward an opinion of mine. But I can say that in general. Journalists, what the president is doing is causing journalism to coalesce. And that is a good thing, because For so long, we have seen ourselves as a waning industry, and we are. And we're a waning industry because with the internet, with every time I pick up my phone and I look for information, or not me, let's say somebody, they don't care where they get it. They're not paying for it, that's for sure. And they don't care who it's from. And that has cut down the need and the audience for reliable journalism. So now that Donald Trump has said he hates all the fake news out there, and this is fake news and that's fake news, and of course he's referring to actual legitimate news, it's getting everybody to think, wow, I wonder if what I'm reading is fake news. Facebook has put a new algorithm on its website to tag fake news.
Right. I mean, look what's happened there. And I've been victim as well. I'll read something from Facebook and I'll realize that wasn't even legitimate. And, that's been a real danger happening over there in Facebook as well. So where do you see us going with this guy, with this president, and covering him? What do you think will happen moving forward?
Well, look, he has certainly given journalists, and I don't mean personally because of attacks against CNN or attacks against the guy from the Tel Aviv newspaper who stood up, and was actually asking a question that really was almost complimentary, and he got yelled down. I don't think it's because of any personal aggression toward Donald Trump. I think what people don't realize is that we're Americans. Journalists are patriots. We're patriots because we're performing one of the few jobs and professions that is constitutionally protected.
It's true.
It's true, and so we are actually and finally doing what we should have been doing all along. So yes, I think we're going to dog President Trump, and I think that he should be dogged, as every president should be. You should not allow words to come out of the mouth of a president of the United States without scrutinizing every word. No, you just, you can say people make mistakes. Okay, fine. Then don't become president of the United States. You're in a position where you can't afford to be glib. It's not part of the job description.
But that's who he is, and that's the guy. No matter what, I don't think he's ever going to change the way he is for the next 4 years. How interesting to cover. One of my best friends is the White House correspondent for CNN under Obama for the past so many years, and he's not doing that any longer. He took a break. But he even said to me the other day how interesting it would be to be covering this guy and be a fly on the wall on Air Force One. Could you imagine doing that? That would be an incredible job. What can you write about and what can't you?
Well, there's no real trust between the White House and the press corps right now, so I don't think that there's a lot of information being given on background that journalists are going with.
What about bloggers and on podcasters and all kinds of people that are out there delivering news? I mean,
Are they?
I don't know.
Are they?
I don't know, but there's so many people out there just sort of giving their opinions. Where's that all going in the news? I mean, you're in a legitimate news business. I came up through a legitimate news business, and now I'm doing this little podcast. But I'm just saying, where do you see that? I mean, everyone with their own opinion.
I don't know that President Trump is going to change the blogosphere. I don't know that because that takes place, I think, because people want a voice. That's why there's social media. That's why Twitter exploded and Instagram exploded, because now people can find a bigger voice than they had before. Do you love
it, Mr. Jeff Michael? Do you like going to work every morning at 2:30 in the morning?
I got to tell you, my body is still adjusting.
Oh, that is so hard because I've done the morning news actually at KTTV. Oh my Lord, getting up that early, I could barely even think. You're out on a live shot. There's a burning building, and you're thinking, I don't know what I'm going to say. I hope I get the right street, but that's tough. So you're still adjusting to it.
I am adjusting to it. Yeah, but I love what I do.
I know. It shows.
I love what I do.
I think you're one of the best.
Oh, that's nice of you.
Thank you. Can we go to a quick clip of Jeff Michael? Can we? You provided us with some of that, right? Here we go.
I'm Jeff Michael. We'll have more on tonight's protests in a moment, but first, there's been a violent crash in West Hills that's left 2 people dead. Now to the anti-Trump protests. Not nearly as large, but persistent and just as passionate. It's been 5 days since Donald Trump shocked most of the world, defeated Hillary Clinton,
that's what I used to do. That's at Fox 11.
And today, there was a 5th day of protest right here in Southern California. Hal Eisner was there as anti-Trump protesters.
Yeah, but you were terrific there, and now look at you. You're on the CBS Morning News out here. And can continuing on your way up in your career. I mean,
and by the way, when I said I don't want to give them more publicity, I was joking. I was sitting next to Christine Devine,
she's
who
amazing.
Couldn't
Another
be better.
Incredible woman and journalist.
Couldn't be better.
Another incredible journalist.
Sure, there are good people doing this job everywhere. I highly encourage people to look up what Jon Stewart just said on Colbert. This was his last appearance. I think it was on that was last week. And I mean, nobody can get a point across, in my mind, quite like Jon Stewart, being able to interweave humor with just very, very serious points. And he actually looked at us and he said, "Hey, all you journalists, I have a great hobby for you. Okay. How about journalism?" And then he looked at the news at all of the networks, and I can't remember what the percentage was, but he said, "Do you know what percentage of their profits is provided by the news department?" And then he gave something like 12%, 11%, it was low in the double digits of how these companies, major companies, make their money. And he said, "Another great idea. How about not needing to profit off of news like it used to be? When journalism and journalists didn't have to."
I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't either. Come on. But he said, "Can't you give 10% back so we can have, more journalists doing their jobs and not have to worry about ratings?" But we do have to worry about ratings.
Every day. John lives and dies by them every single day, every single hour. I mean, I think that's a lot of pressure to live by, but he doesn't even pay attention. He just does his thing. But it's true. No. Your show, everybody's show, same thing. Now, would you stay on for another segment? Because as part of International Women's Day.
Are we going past 2?
No.
Okay,
we're leaving in about 10 minutes.
Of course, no.
Wait, my next guest, and we do a little business segment here sometime.
Oh, I like that.
I have the founders of a company called Mother Trucker. I love that name, Mother Trucker. Ladies, are you with me? Hello. Are they there?
Woo-hoo!
Hey, where's our applause for our ladies? Hey, wonderful. Who's joining me right now? I'll tell you what Mother Trucker is. Who's this? Who do I have on the phone?
This is Shannon Parker.
Shannon.
And Michaela Ehrle.
Okay, thank you both for being here. I've got Jeff Michael in studio with me. Can you tell us a little bit about your business? And do we have some photos? They do these really cool...
A little bit about her.
Yeah, a little bit about your business. They do these super cool hats. It's really neat, like boss ladies, boss moms. They're kind of hip and edgy, and celebrities sort of just...
I love those.
Aren't they cool? I want one, by the way.
Thank you.
They're real. I want one that says boss
yeah.
lady. No, I want the boss lady one because I'm super bossy lady.
Okay, done. Done.
But look at all why did these take off?
We're mothers and we sell truckers.
No, that's really cool. But why did you call yourselves Mother Truckers? Because that's a super cool name. I mean, I just want to say that.
Because one of us cusses a lot and the other one doesn't really cuss at all.
Oh, so you're Mother Truckers. Okay,
and really, we're mothers and we sell trucker hats.
So what did you do? You went to a truck stop, saw some hats, and decided, hey, this is a great idea. I'm going to put a slogan on it, and that's it. How did you do this business?
I think growing up in Orange County being in the surf industry and just with truckers always being around, it's the go-to hat for us, and it always has been.
So what? Your first hat was what? Like you have one that says "Beach Please," I think.
Mm-hmm. We do.
Beach, please.
Beach, please. But this thing has taken off. I mean, and again, how did you get the word out there? I'm always interested in how people get the word out for their businesses. So what did you do?
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah, but how did all these celebrities start liking it? Who are some of the celebs that like this stuff?
It's a mother trucker frenzy.
It's a mother trucker frenzy.
It actually started on Instagram, believe it or not. Good old Instagram.
So what did you do? Like, take me from the beginning.
Social media.
See all these smart women out there, Jeff, doing all these incredible businesses. What do you think of this? Do you have a hat for Jeff?
Mom.
Do you have a hat for Jeff?
Are you kidding me? I think there's no astonishment in my voice.
A boss lady hat for Jeff, maybe? Would you want a boss lady hat?
No, I don't know if I could pull off a boss lady hat.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. No, so you decided
I would like Beach Please.
You want Beach Please?
No,
okay.
I better not go with that either. No.
Okay, why not?
Yeah, you don't want to use the B word when you're a guy.
Oh, there's another one. Hot Mess. Oh, I could take that one too. Let me see. I could wear any of your hats.
This is G-rated here. Come on.
No, it's not. But just so you know, I could do. No, wait, this is not G-rated. Okay, so I could be a Hot Mess. I could be Boss Lady, Beach Please, Wifey. I could wear any of your hats. I love these things. So you went on Instagram.
We have a hat for every day.
There you
every
go.
Moment.
So you went on Instagram with these hats, and then what? They just went viral and took off?
They kind of just took off. We started making hats for 4th of July because we just wanted something cute to wear. And we posted them on Instagram, and it kind of just blew up from there.
Wow.
Christina Musa is one of my personal friends, and she posted it because she genuinely loved it. And it's just kept growing and growing, and keeps, every time we turn around, there's a new opportunity for us that we're just so, shocked and thankful for.
You've got
one of our very first celebs was Jenny McCarthy.
Yeah, I was just going to say Jenny McCarthy. What hat does she wear? Hot mess?
Whichever one she wants.
Let's take a guess. What's that?
She wore #thankful. And she actually ordered a bunch for her organization that she does for her son for autism.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
And so that was really cool. Candace Cameron Buer.
She's adorable. I like her.
Is a mom.
Yeah.
And a hockey mom. So she's been seen around town sporting our hockey mom, and as well on The View. And it's just crazy. All the Orange County housewives, Tori Spelling.
And now me,
another mom,
and now me, right? And now I'll be wearing your.
Now you,
and I'll be wearing your hat. So, how many have you sold? And how do people get in touch with you?
Oh my gosh! I mean, I can't even tell you how many we've sold. Probably over 10,000.
Wow!
Yeah, thousands and thousands of hats.
Since when? So
hats we've sold.
This is incredible.
So
go ahead.
We have a website that you
Okay.
can purchase our hats. It's called mothertruckerco.com.
Mothertruckerco.com. Okay.
Yep, mothertruckerco.com. They're also available at Nordstrom.com.
Ooh.
Diane's Beachwear, the Swim Spot.
Oh, they're at
Ron Surf Shop.
I'm impressed. How did you develop this so quickly? How many years have you been at this? Your Mother Trucker hats.
It's
I
not
love
even
saying
plural. It's been 18 months.
Wow.
Where are they?
They're everywhere right now.
Where's your office? Where do you do all this?
Orange County.
We're based in Orange County, and believe it or not, we work from home. We do all this from our home and our garage.
You're not Coda de Casa, are you? Is that?
No, we're in Yorba Linda.
Yorba Linda.
Well, in Yorba Linda, working out of the house.
Henry
And you're
are you friends with Henry DiCarlo from Channel 5?
Yeah, sure. I've met Henry. Yeah.
Yeah, we're like all friends. All these people. Why?
He's from Yorba Linda. We're tight here in Yorba Linda.
Oh my gosh! So let me get this straight. So Henry DiCarlo and Richard Nixon, both from Yorba Linda.
Yes, and Mother Truckers.
And Mother Truckers.
There is a Jeopardy category here.
All right, so ladies, for International Women's Day, for International Women's Day, even though what's that? We keep talking over each other. Say it again.
Can you believe it? We're boss ladies, International Women's Day. We're moms. We're the real deal.
You are the real deal. And I'm really impressed with you ladies because I love to highlight fun women who are doing something inspiring that they love to do. That's the thing. You're loving what you're doing, right? Everybody knows your hats.
We do.
Fun.
We have a good time. We have the people that work for us. We love them. They're other moms in the community, and we're able to give them an opportunity to help provide for their families and work around their schedules. And that's something we really love about it.
I love it. Well, thank you for taking the time to be on our show. Everybody, mothertruckerco.com is how you can get your hats. Also on what?
Are you on Twitter?
We are. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Mother Trucker Co. Find us.
We will tweet out about you. If you tweet out about us, we'll be tweeting out about you today. So this is great. I love this. You guys are inspiring me, inspiring everyone for International Women's Day. So thank you for coming on.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Thanks for coming on, and we look forward to having you again. Okay, thank you.
All right.
They were wonderful, and thank you for hanging on, too. So we always like to highlight a little bit of business or somebody doing something interesting in the community. So, and we thought for International Women's Day, who would be better than women who are selling hats with Mother Trucker? So another thing I wanted to ask you, I know you're tweeting away and looking at the news.
No, I'm following Mother Trucker Code. That's what I was just doing.
Yeah, we got a tweet about it. I love how you're really very proactive with social media, aren't you? And did you have to learn to do that again? Because
absolutely.
What a pain in the ass in a way, right? I mean, you almost live this way day and night, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You have to live with the phone just in front of you. You wake up to go to the bathroom, and what?
May I ask?
Mary, that's my friend Mary.
Mary, can you get my cord untangled from behind me? If I lean forward too far, I'm going to
Is this your way of flirting with Mary?
You know what? Every Italian woman I can't help but flirt with. I know. That puts you in the category, doesn't it?
Oh, I don't mind at all. That's just fine with me.
Thank you very much. That's perfect.
Oh, no, I don't mind.
Anyway, what were you saying?
Have you ever done a marathon? You're a walker, a runner, nothing like that?
Well, I run. I mean, I do the Rose Bowl, but it's a walk-run interval. I'm not a runner. I'm just not a good runner.
Well, on March 19th, I'm doing the marathon. just so you know. So I hope you're going to come out and cheer me on. I'm not a runner. Look at his face. He's like, what? I'm not a runner. I don't run. Look, those are my feet and that little Facebook picture of mine. Thank you so much.
Oh, wow.
But I'm highlighting it because I only have one more weekend of training and I'm scared shitless. I don't know how I'm going to do this because I walk. So how am I going to walk 26.2 miles? I have no idea. But I just wanted to mention it to inspire anybody else out there for International Women's Day. If there's anything you've ever wanted to do, go ahead and do it because I'm stupid enough to go do the marathon in 10 days.
And it raises money for what?
At the moment, I'm not raising any money for the LA Marathon. I decided to just do it.
This is the LA Marathon.
The LA Marathon. I just decided to do it. I don't even know why. I don't walk that far. Furthest I've ever walked was 18 miles, and I nearly passed out about 2 weeks ago. So,
training is going well.
Training is going well, but I'm mentioning it because I'm highlighting my journey to the LA Marathon, which is in 10 days. So I wanted to just mention that at the end. Yeah. What's the furthest you've ever walked, Mr. Michael?
Does that include round trips to the refrigerator or just one-way
round
walks?
Trips. No, we include round trips.
You know what? I don't know. I probably only walked maybe 10 miles.
10, that's not bad.
Yeah,
would you ever want to do the marathon?
No, not at all.
Why? I mentioned this to people, and they're like, why would you do this? Why would anybody want to do this?
No, I'm just not an endurance. That's not my thing. I like to enjoy my activity. It just wouldn't be enjoyable to me. And I'm not one of those people who says, wait, it's a challenge. I got to do it before I die. Well, yeah, but you could die doing it. So why try?
I could. I really very well could, because by the time I'm at mile 15, half the time I'm hallucinating. I'm wondering. So I'm just hoping that I get through this. But I'm mentioning it because it's in only 10 days, and I know a lot of people out there have been following me in my journey of training for the LA Marathon. So that's how I wanted to sort of end our segment. Any parting words, Jeff Michael, before we leave?
Any parting words?
Before we leave, how people can find you.
Well, first, I'm on Channel 2. I'm on Channel 2, 4:30 to 7 a.m. I know you're not going to watch at 4:30. I mean, hell, I hardly have a hard. I can hardly watch at 7:30 or 4:30. I mean,
I love you on in the mornings.
Thank you.
You're terrific. You're great.
I have a great time. Sharon Tay is my co-anchor.
She's lovely.
Marvelous woman to work with. I've known her for years when we were both street reporters. Stephanie Simmons is, I think, probably one of the most beautiful women on television and so talented. She does traffic. And I always thought that traffic, when I watch the morning shows, the traffic is kind of a, whatever, they got it off Caltrans. No, we have a traffic computer with a traffic producer. I mean, they know everything.
Big time. The traffic is so important. It's almost more important than the news.
And then Garth Kemp, who I used to work with at ABC, he does our weather, and we're on until 7 and then again on 11 at 11 a.m. So, yeah, I really think you ought to check us out. And look, I really am not even technically under contract at this point. And I'm saying this for a reason with this TV station. This is the most impressive newsroom I have ever worked in. It is a kick-ass newsroom. It really is.
What makes it more impressive than some of the other places you've been at?
Resources, a lack of cynicism. You always find cynicism in newsrooms. But people who, maybe some of them are, maybe it's because they're young. I don't think so, though. It's just really dedicated people. And it's just such a joy to go in and actually work with people who really like what they do.
Well, it shows when I watch you at 4:30. A lot of times I'm up that early because then I'm walking or running at 5:30. So that's got to be tough, though, man, getting up that early. I mean, what time do you have to go to bed? Do you have to put on like a little...
Well, let's see, I got to get up at 2:45, so I try to get to bed by 1 a.m.
That would be me. I swear to God. I remember John at one time did mornings at KABC for a minute and a second, because by the time they figured out the kind of show he did, they actually said, I didn't realize you were like that. And he didn't last very long. Then he went back over to KFI. But getting up in the mornings was hell for him. He had such a tough time. So I admire the fact that you get up every morning and show up and deliver us the news. So thank you. And thanks for being here. It was fun. I hope you had a good time.
And I guess really my parting words are to anybody who catches this, read. Just read and read good sources of news. I don't care whether you agree with them or not. You may be too conservative to read the New York Times, but it is a good publication.
I also like to tell people to read a little bit of opposite of your
always
own view.
Yes,
please,
yes.
Because then you can get the other side and make your own opinion, right? And be careful what you're reading too.
The Wall Street Journal is traditionally a conservative newspaper. It is a wonderful newspaper.
And the New York Times, some of them, just the old guards. I mean, just read the old guards.
Yeah.
Watch some of the more traditional
Politico Online, a wonderful journalist organization.
Yeah, that's those good words. All right, thanks for being here. Did you have a good time?
Yeah, I did. It was fun.
You going to do your own podcast soon?
I don't know how. I've been in this business for 35 years,
It's
and
fun.
I wouldn't know how to do a podcast.
You can say anything you want. You can curse, which is great for me. I just love doing it. And you
I
can
know.
just bring up anything.
When I am permanently unemployed, I will do that.
That will not happen. But thanks for being here, Jeff. That was really fun. Everybody, thanks for tuning in for another fun edition of Deborah Kobylt Live. See you next week.